when you give someone a book about Bitcoin, it's like, look, I want you to learn about Bitcoin. But I noticed that maybe half of the people didn't read it because it's like, I'm telling like, you should learn about Bitcoin, and they're not ready for that. I said, I want to have this book that is easy, that is for normies, that it has some interesting stories, real stories. They have this philosophy without saying that it's philosophy, but it's like applied philosophy to the everyday life all the time, so that it's interesting. I also introduce them to principles of philosophy, to low time preference, to understand that, hard work is needed, to understand that there's some things out there in the world that we need to rethink because they are not as they seem to be, and we already have the symptoms there. If any Bitcoiner wants to orange pill their loved ones, they can do it this way.
Give us a little bit of an overview of what you're doing and what you're also doing with Bitcoin.
Yeah. So as a short intro, like a lot of people, I don't know how many, but being very honest, I joined Bitcoin just thinking like, okay, yeah, let's make a lot of money quick. Went definitely the wrong way. Like I had no direction. So I remember in 2021, I heard a fella talking about Bitcoin. It's like, okay, so I'm Salvadorian. He's talking about Bitcoin. I should maybe learn this Bitcoin thing. I ended up doing NFTs, which kind of a shame. It was a hard lesson. I ended up paying everyone back in the community because I said like people had other expectations. A really good friend of mine from Egypt, Abdul, he noticed this and he told me like, hey, Nelson, here's a book. So he gave me Safe DM's book, the Bitcoin Standard. I regret not having read it like the moment that he gave it to me. It took me 6 months to open that book. But once I opened it, it just like, for the first time, I felt that I had a clear direction of something that I need to explore a little bit more. It took me around maybe like 2,500 hours just like going into different parts of Bitcoin. I'm more fond of the philosophical part of it. I don't know. For some reason, I just discovered philosophy recently in my life. I'm 34 now, so it's quite late. I wish I did it 20 years ago. But I mean, because it just helped me structure the life, and I felt that all of this I was learning to Bitcoin. I just said like, okay, so I'm not here to be rich quick. I'm here to like learn how to live better. So I like when I met other Bitcoiners, everyone is calmer. Everyone is like not trying to rush. Everyone is looking quality over quantity. And I really like that. And I said, like, okay, I want to stay here. But I ended up, I said, like, volunteering. And today I volunteer and I do a lot of stuff. I spend a lot of my time every single week supporting Bitcoin without being paid for many of these things because I really like the vision. So I feel that that's kind of like the natural progress. So maybe not a biggie here. I have a feeling that most people also went through some similar thing like gambling. And then it's like, okay, this is interesting, this is cool, and then eventually just like having a little bit more of enlightenment. So with that in mind, in 2021, I decided to just like steer like what I was doing. So started with the whole crypto stuff, but quickly in like a transformation of maybe 1.5 years, I went full Bitcoin. And today I help or I work with other Bitcoin projects or companies that want to include Bitcoin in topics around education and visualization. And particularly visualization and education started opening some opportunities to, let's say, like collaborate and advise the Salvadoran government. And this is like the main reason to be here. I mean, I just felt like this call of duty. I should go back home. I have to take responsibility. And this is a place where, like I grew up, I know the culture. And I just bring some of the knowledge and hopefully a little bit of wisdom that I acquire in living in Europe. And well, that's what took me here, and that's what we're doing now.
Amazing. So you're now an advisor to the Salvadorian government for what exactly?
Well, I mean, I cannot go into details, but I can tell what I care about, and that is related to the projects that I work. So I care about topics around innovation and entrepreneurship, about having the right north. Second, I care about the topics around economics. So very much like other countries, El Salvador has a problem with like a high leverage of debt. And I believe this needs to be solved. Else it's kind of like a ticking bomb. But I mean, most other countries have similar problems. Here in El Salvador, there's one it's not even a legal financial tool. It's something that is called Keran. And a Keran means I owe you. So let's say that a company needs to pay you $2,500. So they come to you and say like, Robin, here's the payment. Here's 1,500 bucks. And here is a Keran, like an I owe you for 1,000. And it's just a paper saying like, I owe you 1,000 more. And the thing is that this Keran, I mean, you can imagine how this can be dangerous very quickly, right? But these Kerans have been like adopted so strongly that virtually every company is using them. So my impression is that a lot of companies are kind of just like playing this game of catching up with debt, issuing more Kerans, getting other Kerans. And I believe that needs to be solved so that we can have a healthier, like economical environment here, healthier business environment. Talking about health, and the third topic is health. So now there are a lot of topics around agriculture and health going on, and it's just imperative to use like go in there. And I mean, you can imagine that you're going to be an expert in all these things. So what I focus on is helping like the people that we work with get some structure, mostly like the workshops, visualize what's going on so that everyone can understand and jump in. Make sure to democratize the process so that usually like here in El Salvador, we have a very loud culture. So you will hear a lot of Europeans will say like, oh, people scream here all the time, but it's just like we are very loud naturally. But that means that at work, you have people that are a little bit more quiet, people that are louder, and usually the louder people are the ones that are right. So by democratizing the process with workshop style formats, then you allow the silent people who have been listening more of the time than talking to also express their opinions, and their opinions have the same value. So applying these just basics of game theory, just trying to help everyone understand incentives, because when you create any law, any regulation, you have to think about, okay, yeah, what's going to happen? Just one tiny example. Let's say that usually like Europe, the US, or Salvador, most countries just try to like ban, let's say like pesticides or herbicides that are for sure like cancerogenic, sorry. And the crazy thing is that if you go and ban one thing, you can literally maybe add like a drop of water, a drop of sugar, a drop of chlorine, then you have a whole new substance that is not banned, and that's it. So, so you have to think about how you proceed with it. Maybe like blacklist is not the way, maybe whitelist is the way. And then, you have a whole other bunch of issues, and you need to think how like good actors and bad actors, will react to the incentives that you build. So this kind of stuff we're doing all the time, but it's extremely exciting. And someone who possibly you might have soon on your podcast, Adam Neely, is my partner in all of this. So we are just trying to be patriotic and do our best here.
That's super exciting. And you also wrote a book called Unstable Innovation. What was the subtitle? Unstable Innovation, the fragile state most will never understand, which what do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, Unstable Innovation tries to catch in two words what's going on. A lot of people, and this goes a little bit into why I wrote it. So my general feeling is that most people around me, and I feel that most people around me are well off, but still most people around me are not having the nicest time. So in general, I mean, you see it in the news, you see it in social media. People are kind of stressed. They feel that there's a lot of pressure going on. Technology is compounding, accelerating, and this creates a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty creates chaos. Like the chaos is like full of problems. And people just go and live through all of this like chronology, and they stick with the process, they stick with the stress. So when I wrote this title, I wanted to call it Unstable Innovation so that people understand it's okay. So there's like some fragile thing going on that therefore is unstable, but it's because we're having innovation. And what I attempt to do, is to write what is, let's call it like a philosophy book, basics of philosophy book. These guys are packaged as an innovation and entrepreneurship book. So basically it's like applying basic principles of philosophy to examples around innovation and entrepreneurship so that I can attempt to help people structure their own life, because that's what philosophy does at the end. That's why it's so cool. Once you get it, and you're in a really difficult situation, a really challenging, life-threatening, maybe like what I would call a moment of truth situation, then you have that structure to just get out of it and and stand up again and try to fly again. So I wrote this book because I believe that in the next decade or two, for most people, times are going to get harder. So with that in mind, I also thought this should be free. So I mean, I don't like market it free, like on the website, but everywhere else I'm writing. So if someone goes and prays on buy, so there's like 2 Amazon links, sorry, that's like the necessary evil. When I go to Europe, I also need to have books, so I cannot be carrying books everywhere. But in the website, you go to buy, and then you can just like press like PDF version, and the PDF version, once you like, when people expect that you have to input your credit card, whatever, it's like boom, you know, hey, I see that you have interest for your book. Guess what? This book is free for you. Everything what I wanted is to know that you want to have it, you know, because if I just say like free book, people download it, they don't read it. But if someone already had the intention, okay, let's see how much this costs, you know, they click, that will be the second click on the website, then I believe they should have it. And yeah, so like for example, on Geyser Fund, I actually wrote that it's free, not at the very beginning and in big. I wrote it like somewhere at 3/4. And the idea is that the people who deserve to have it without, you know, having to pay for anything, they will. Um, yeah, so that's why. On the other hand, well, the fragile state, most will never understand. The whole idea is that the subtitle is a little bit controversial. So some people will be like, okay, I want to know what most will never know. And the other people is going to be like, come on, I'm not most people, you know? So like for the ones who have a little bit of ego, I hope this will be a little bit humbling as well. And then for the ones that have lower ego, it's like, okay, it should be welcoming already. And yeah, so there's like one part in the book where I explain that when you are pursuing change, where you're trying to create a project of value, a project that is going to impact a lot of people, it is natural that this ends like in some sort of entrepreneurship, or maybe you end at your favorite project, which a project that has value, say a startup, which all of them are like at the same level of being honorable. I believe like the dimension of honorable is like, hey, who's leading a company or creating it is like, you know, who's doing the things that needs to be done, right? Who is like adding a lot of value to the world. So with that in mind, I attempt to explain that this mindset is a fragile state. And because most people will never try to build their own things. I mean, just look at the number of entrepreneurs in percentage. It's like quite low. It's in the 1 digits. Then it basically explains why most will just definitely never understand. So it's kind of like a statement, but supposed to, you know, like be a little bit catchy. I don't know how many people read the subtitles of things. Yeah, you know that this is saying that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but when I designed the cover, I wanted that people judge it by the cover.
It's also interesting when we look at books because like most people, when we hear an author and we hear a book title and then we also read the book, like most people know the author, then they maybe heard about the title and the subtitle, and the people that read the title and the subtitle is way bigger than the group of people that actually read the book. So I think that the book title already has a very significant role to play for someone. If you want to be like, oh, like I have that book and I want to convey a message. So I think books like the Bitcoin Standard do a great job in that, where even if you don't read the full book, you get the message already in the title. No? Like there's a Bitcoin Standard coming. So I think the title has a very essential role in to play in a book.
Thank you. Like it's weird because when I think about it, this title was just said at the very beginning. It was okay. It's gonna be called Unstable Innovation, and it was like a first try. The subtitle, oh, that one had like 10, 15 versions, you know, and I'm still not extremely happy with it, but it was just good enough. It's, you know, in a way, I was thinking maybe you can make it less controversial, but it works. Yeah, and then like that, and the focus, if you notice, is on the guy with the helmet, with the innovation helmet. So it's kind of like it goes into this whole like mindset metaphor. So it's a helmet because it's not like innovation like gloves or gauntlets. It's not innovation boots, innovation backpack, innovation chest plate. It's an innovation helmet because the whole idea is that you put it on your head because innovation starts and happens here. You know, everything else, what your hands do and whatever is whichever command you gave to your body to do, whichever action you're already taking. But yeah, but the original intention is more of a mindset thing. It's more of a motivation thing. You need to kind of like spark from the inside. I'm gonna do this, and then then it materializes. So yeah.
How does this book connect to Bitcoin?
Yeah. So okay, as a good question. So as a Bitcoiner trying to be a better Bitcoiner, we have to be responsible. Like you're doing the podcast, I had to do something as well, right? So I've been orange pinning a lot of people. I believe I show one person how to install MetaMask once, and I've been trying to compensate for that ever since. So I have exactly no idea how many people I orange peel, but I know that in my presentations where I introduced people about Bitcoin, I had over 1,500 people attending, like present, like physical, right? So I will not stop. Maybe when I have like 10,000 people, I have at least like a good two to 300 confirmations of people that I send my Bitcoin, and a lot of times I send like $5 or $3 or minimum $1. I don't say like 1 cent or something because I want that they have just something that is like a round number that they can see grow. So I might have given away 1/5 or 1/4 of all my Bitcoin just orange pilling other people. And it's here's crazy, but it also feels right. So I had to do something as well as a Bitcoiner, so I decided to write a light book about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is not the core of the book. This is not a Bitcoin book. If you compare it to the most similar thing, it will be Jeff Wood's Price of Tomorrow. So you see, you're talking about what's going on in the world, about compounding acceleration, which is one argument that I wanted to bring in my book. So I brought that one from Jeff into my book as well. And then just when you're about to finish a book, it's like, okay, there's not a solution for that, but maybe we think about this other way, and there is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin could help us with this. So basically it has this kind of like open end. And I wanted to do something similar so that, the last two books that I read, apart from The Price of Tomorrow, that inspired me to write this one, where I reread Animal Farm from George Orwell. And I read one book called The Lessons of History from Duran and Duran. That book, wow, it's like a very raw book, and I was very inspired because it kind of like gives structure to how things work in life, how we humans react to many things. It gives you a sense of hope and understand progress. Animal Farm brought me the idea that I wanted to tell something easy. Price of Tomorrow was a book that I enjoy a lot, and that I wanted to just give a little bit more of the next steps to the people. So I decided, okay, what if I write a book that is a little bit like going in the direction of Price of Tomorrow, but it's easy. So it's for normies, right? Number two, it builds up mostly from an emotional side, like telling real stories, not the stories of success, because everyone writes about the stories of success, but mostly around stories of failure. And then when you're half of the way in the book, for the first time, when your mind is open, when you're ready for change, when you're talking about, the chapter 5 is called Game Theory, and that one is like, it explains that people usually, because of different values and principles, they have misalignments with the institutions or companies that they work for. And this is due to weak incentives. Weak incentives cause money troubles. I basically tell people very easy to put the numbers, and there's QR codes to follow like the sources, and says like, look, for every $1 of value that we create in the world, we also create $3 of debt. I say like, look at the list of Forbes 30 under 30 people in the US. There is like how much they raise. Well, they have scammed more people, in the body of the mummy that was scammed than how much they raise. It's absolutely crazy, So why are we focusing on this sensationalism Why are we're making decisions every day that hurt ourselves? Why do we play this game of leverage? So when people are in this moment that it's even like make it or break it, right? Like here in this chapter, it was maybe just too much truth at once, and you just like don't continue reading a single page in the book, or you're just in sync with me in this moment, and you say like, wow, I've been lied to, this cannot be. And then in this moment, say like, hey, but wait, so this is not a book about just like saying everything is wrong. This is about seeing what's functioning right. So, and then I say like, there's this other part, and it's called sound incentive. And then I said like, at this moment of the book, I will talk about a topic that not many agree, it's called Bitcoin. I'm very fond of Bitcoin. And they said like, look, this is what Bitcoin is. In this paragraph, took me a lot of time to write and rewrite. I rewrote it like 20 times or more. I wanted to have like the easiest paragraph to explain Bitcoin. I want to memorize it so that I can use those same words whenever I explain it to someone, because it's very well structured. And then I said like, okay, on here, there's 3 myths around Bitcoin, and I just try to demystify them. It's maybe like 2 or 3 pages around it. And yeah, so the thing is that the moment when this comes, people are really open for that. I believe that anyone who finishes chapter 5, they will 99.9% or something, they will finish the book, because you already have this momentum. And after this, I reward people with a favorite chapter of them all, which is one called the Unavoidables. And the unavoidables are those moments or those challenges that you will definitely face as an entrepreneur or potential innovator. And because I talk mostly about like the biggest failures in my life, people just love it. And then, like the momentum after that is it's just very natural. I don't know if there's someone out there that can like stop reading chapter 7 or 8. It will be crazy. Yeah.
What is that?
So that's the relation.
Interesting. And what you said, the unavoidables of chapter 6, it was. What is that exactly?
So what are the unavoidables? So the unavoidables are 3. The first one, that's a really cool question, like because this has some emotion to it. So the first one is uncertainty. So when you're trying to go where no one else has ever gone, when you're trying to build something that never built before, and there's no one to ask, how does this work? Because no one has done it before, you will eventually have to face uncertainty. So you will not know what's going to happen next. And this is very natural. And I describe in the book a situation where that was at the very beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, maybe 1 year in. I was showering at midnight. I was very stressed. I had to somehow get around 4,500 euros back then, and I had 5 days to do it. Or I will lose my apartment, I will bankrupt the company. It was, like just COVID started right before that. COVID started 1 month after I, for the first time I break even. I had 50 euros in profit in that month, it took me like almost half a year to break even. Before that, like how I started my company, I basically just quit and said like, I'm going to start a company. It was not structured. It was not prepared. I didn't have customers aligned. So that was a very humbling moment. So I'm there showering. I go out to take the towel and I just collapsed. I just collapsed and start crying like a baby. I don't know what to do. Like for 1, maybe 2 minutes, like just crying. Just like crying, like there was no one there. I'm just crying naked in the middle of the floor. And yeah, I just started remembering some methods that I learned on how to deal with urgency, how to deal with really stressful situations. And, and then I go and describe how I picked myself up, started writing, like basically journaling some things, writing a plan down. Again, how that helped me get out of the problem. Obviously, because I'm here, it worked. But yeah, so that's number 1. Number 2, I will make them a little bit shorter. Number 2 is getting stuck. So you can imagine that eventually, when you start something, you make progress very fast, right? it's very exciting to start something new. It's like whatever you do, you feel that it's adding value, it's materializing fast. But eventually, maybe the 1 hour that you put is not giving you again like 10% of getting better. Maybe it gives you 5%, and the next day it gives you 2%, the next day it gives you 1%. So you have this like curve of diminishing return before you unlock the next moment of divergent growth where, like where you're progressing fast and then you go into convergence. So I explained these mechanisms, but the important thing to know is that, that you should understand that those moments where you get stuck, it means that you are already really starting to progress. You go to the point where it gets hard. You get to the point where if you continue, you will get where no one else is getting, because everyone else stops and says like, okay, I quit. This is too much for me. So that's the second one, getting stuck. So uncertainty, getting stuck. And the third one is failure. So failure is just part of it. I don't believe there's anyone out there who can constantly like be successful on whatever successful is here, right? Without failing in the progress. So I go on and tell about my biggest failures. I explain why. I argue that it's better to fail and know why you fail than succeed and not have the right reason. Even worse, like it's even more dangerous to think that you succeeded due to something else, right? Because when times get hard, you will not know like the formula to succeed again, because you never really did in a structured way. And why I say that this question is really cool is because on the last day that I talked with my grandmother, I'm sorry, like, the Latin way, we go like all around and then we come to the point, right? On the last day that I talked with my abuelita Aide, my grandma Aide, I promised her that I was going to write a book. I didn't say like I want to write a book. She told me Nelsito, which is like little Nelson, right? Like Nelsito, make me a promise. You will write a book. The book needs to talk about kings. It needs to talk a little bit about your life and what you have learned. And it needs to be about 3 topics. It needs to be about courage. It needs to be about perseverance, and it needs to be a lot. I wrote, if you want, I can just send you these notes. So like the actual notes that I wrote, they are in Spanish, but yeah, so that people can see them. But the crazy thing is that when I finished the book for the first time, because I spent a lot of time editing it, I was asking myself if I can really like include the things that my grandma told me. So I said like, maybe I'm gonna write a second book. I don't know. This is the first book. How is it possible that I promised something to my grandma and the very first book that I write, I don't keep my promise? That's crazy. So I already included because I talk about my progress, include my life art book. Check, easy. There is one part in game theory where I explain in a simple and visual way how inflation works. So this one, I use an example with a king and the kingdom. There's some apples and some coins that are minted very cheaply. So, okay, kings, we have it. And I said, like, is there any way to include courage, perseverance, and love? And I just said, like, okay, I will reread the book. So I'm reading the book. And guess what? I come to chapter 6. And it just suddenly clicks. It was there all along. I just need to write it. When you are facing uncertainty, well, you combat it, you battle it with courage. When you get stuck, you battle it, well, by persevering, Again, you just have to continue, even if it feels like it's diminishing progress, but you have to continue, because at some point you will do something that no one else has done, and that's going to give you a competitive advantage, and then you will progress again. And the third part is like to battle failure, to pick yourself up, raise from the floor, stand up, run, jump on the cliff, ready to try to fly again. You really need to have passion, you really need to have love to solve a problem in the world. And when I noticed that, man, it's like I just cried. So I guess like you see it, this was just like, it was just meant to be. It was like serendipity, It's like maybe my unconscious made me write this, because I didn't think about these things while writing the structure. It was like the natural structure And it just clicked.
Let's take a break for a moment and appreciate the beauty that Coin Vigilante has made with the Bitcoin watches. Those watches are the most amazing, the most elegant way of showing that you are a true Bitcoiner. And Coin Vigilante just dropped a completely new and amazing Genesis edition of their watch collections. You have the date of the first ever mined Bitcoin block in there, and of course also the block height and which epoch we are currently in. I love the level of detail they put in this masterpiece. Make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. And now if you have Bitcoin, I really do hope that you don't have it on exchange. But if you do have it on exchange, I have two ways for you to deal with that. The first way is you put it on a hardware wallet. That's the entry for you to get into the self-custody game. I recommend BitBox, Bitcoin only edition for that. It's a super simple and secure way. And if you check out the link in the description, you even get 5% off if you use the code Robin. And the second way is the Bitcoin Way. The Bitcoin Way is your all-in partner in terms of how to get the most out of your sovereignty. They will personalize for you a self-custody setup that is perfect for your individual situation. They will show you how you can secure your own devices. Securing your Bitcoin is not enough. You also have to keep all your devices secure. One topic that is overlooked often is the inheritance plan. What happens with your Bitcoin once you are no longer here? Do you have a plan for that in place already? And last but not least, if you're in the jurisdictions where you don't feel safe, it's better to get a plan B. For all that, head over to thebitcoinway.com/Robin to get a 30-minute free call. And just a quick side note, I will be for the first time ever speaking at the Bitcoin Prague event in June. It will be absolutely legendary and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you there. You can get your ticket in the link down in the description of Bitcoin Prague, and very important, use code Robin to get 10% off your ticket. I'm really looking forward seeing you there. That's beautiful. It's really cool. And this, I think this chapter 6, it is kind of also related to the Bitcoin adoption story. I follow like you kind of get stuck and you have those failures in there. And with that part of courage, I think that's it's almost like you. I mean, it's me trying to connect everything to Bitcoin, but if you, a lot of people after a crash or some correction in Bitcoin, they feel disencouraged, they sell too early and stuff like that. So knowing that you have to have the courage to go through the good and the bad times in Bitcoin is very important, but also for like innovators that actually develop something. That's really a cool message. Is that book describing how innovators do it, or more of almost like a psychology help for innovators? How would you? What is the main thing for that?
So it's a mix of two. So chapter 1, I can just give you the essence a little bit without spoilers. Chapter 1 is opening chaos. It basically tells you, like, okay, chaos is there, chaos is normal. Embrace chaos. Chaos creates like rips in what's going on. These rips and challenges and problems. You can see them as opportunities. Opens to chapter number 2, which is like, okay, when you have real acceleration, is unmeasurable. When you have true innovation, true acceleration, you break the metric. I give like different examples of that again and again, and explain that we feel pressure today because of all the acceleration of the compounding technology. So that's what's worrying us. It's like too much to handle. I tell people, okay, just narrow down, focus on something. Then explain that there's in chapter 3 moments of truth that will define your life, and you can just like let these moments of truth just like own you, or you can own them. And whatever you decide is definitely going to impact. So you have to identify and recognize or identify them, and then you need to act on them. Consciously, and say like, okay, which is the version of myself that I want to be. And that these moments are hard. So usually the harder choice is usually the one that helps you grow. Chapter 4 is, as you say, is the one that really helps people understand how to do things. So in a way, chapter 4, yeah, it's weird because for some people it has been the favorite, and for others it's been the least favorite. Because this one is kind of like, look, these are the tools that I use. These are the mega trends that you should be paying attention on. One of them is called freedom and decentralized technologies. Like Bitcoin Master. Right, and then it gives you, for example, these are the most important skills for innovation that I found. There's a graph with 8. So this one is very practical. And again, 5 come back, again, theory to make sense of what's going on and to explain that we should always focus on having sound incentives, because this is going to be, in the long term, it's going to give us, like better results, a better life. Number 6 is the unavoidables, as we were talking. Number 7 goes again, and it's practical in how you should make these decisions. It's called commit or do nothing. Right. So whatever you do, you need to do it intentionally. And number 8 is eudaimonia. So number 8 is my personal favorite. I mean, I like most of the chapters actually to be my favorite, but I cannot have all my chapters in my favorite. So I like all of them. But the A one is the one that I like the most because it is basically just real, like just true philosophy, and that I inspired myself in the structure from the book, the little book of Stoicism by Salzgeber. I believe he's Austrian, not sure, German. I have to check again, but I love that book because it really like visualizes and gives structure. And then the ninth chapter is just like spark. So anyone who reaches this chapter, I'm basically saying, look, in 2 pages, this is a summary. This is everything what we learned. Now you know, like you have at the end of the book all the resources, all the QRs to the knowledge that I was speaking. So you can learn it from the best, not from me. This is whom I learned it from. So I'm just sharing like all my secrets, right? It's like these are all the tips, these are all the secrets, these are all the sources that help me do what I do, and I believe they can help you too. No secrets. And now that you know what's going on in the world, you should be responsible. Now you have the opportunity to be to become an agent of change, and it's just so charged, just emotional. It's just like every word is purposely there just to make you take action, just to make you say like, okay, I will change something, whatever it is, even if it's small, but I will change something. I will start today. And then it sums up the book. This mini spoiler alert, so you go 10 seconds without it. I share everyone my mantra, and that's like the whole book encapsulated in a single sentence. And the whole message is, well, be the ordinary, build extraordinary. And this is my mantra, but in this moment, I said, like, if I really want to live up to it, it cannot be my mantra. It's also yours. So I share it with everyone. And the whole message is that, we should always remember where we come from, and we should know where we're going. We should do it intentionally, do it for good, and we can stay humble in that way. And still, that doesn't mean that we cannot make extraordinary stuff. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a mix of practical tips and so on. But anyone who reads it, they will understand that there is no trick, there's no shortcut or like easy tips or something like 10 steps to innovation. It's just all about knowing what you want to do, like having a very clear north, committing to that path, and do it in long enough, While saying at the same time no to all distractions. You're saying, I'm focusing on this and doing it long enough until you actually succeed in what you want to do, until you actually solve the problem. So that's what the book is about. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, I wrote it because I believe that it will really give a chance to anyone who reads it to structure their life. And in a way, I also plan it so that if any Bitcoiner wants to orange peel their loved ones, they can do it this way. So, I mean, there's a little Bitcoin logo on the front cover, and there's a little Nostr logo. Nostr logo, no one will know. But yeah, so it's subtle, right? So when you give someone a book about Bitcoin, it's like, look, I want you to learn about Bitcoin. And I bought the little Bitcoin book. By the way, I met Jimmy Song and we made a book swap. We signed the books. That was a special moment. But I bought that book over 30 times. It was my go-to gift to everyone that I love. But I noticed that maybe half of the people didn't read it because it's like, I'm telling like, you should learn about Bitcoin, and they are not. And they are not ready for that. So I said I want to have this book that is easy, that is for normies, that it has some interesting stories, real stories. That it has this philosophy without saying that it's philosophy, but it's like applied philosophy to the everyday life all the time, so that it's interesting. And and at the end, helps introduce like our loved ones, for our Bitcoiners friends, helps introduce them to principles of philosophy, to low time preference, to understand that hard work is needed, to understand that there's some things out there in the world that we need to rethink because they are not as they seem to be, and we already have the symptoms there, and that they should be open to different topics, such as open innovation, and then say like, okay, look at Blender, look at Linux, look at Bitcoin, and yeah. So that's what the book is about. Sorry, I went very long with this answer, but it's like, yeah, that's the thing is with this topic, I cannot stop, Robin.
Hey, I love it. I love it. And there's so much, there's so much stuff in there, that we can get in there. Maybe a little bit on Bitcoin, because you write so much about innovation. How extraordinary is Bitcoin when you compare it to other innovations?
Well, I've made the argument. So I argue once in the book that Bitcoin is, when it's from fundamentals, is the biggest innovation project in the world. If you think about technology, I really started checking into numbers, how many people are running nodes and all this stuff. Then the Linux operating systems is the biggest one. But fundamentally, when it comes about really making a dent and trying to steer the direction where things are going, hopefully in what can be a way nicer direction, more sound direction. In that sense, I believe Bitcoin is extraordinary in the entire sense of the word. And what's extraordinary is because it's extraordinarily transparent. It's extraordinarily complex, but when you understand it, at the same time, the rules are extraordinarily simple. And yeah, so very much like, I guess most people hearing this, once you dedicate enough time, there's no stop. It's just like wonder after wonder, Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. You must know, right? Like you go into conversations with other people. Yeah, I'm more calm now. I don't talk too much about Bitcoin unless I really think like, okay, maybe it should go into this way. And the best thing is like when you lead a conversation where someone eventually will say like, okay, look, I'm talking about this. What about these Bitcoins? What are these Bitcoins? Do you mention something, right? And then it's like, you go there. But I believe it's extraordinary in every way. And in chapter 8, and this is the other part that has around Bitcoin. I described that I believe that Satoshi lived with all the principles of eudaimonia, So like Satoshi is my eudaimonia example, living with virtue, focusing on what he or she or they will control. I mean, there's different theories. Like, I believe Satoshi is already, like we don't have him with us. That's what I believe. But yeah, and then the other part is taking responsibility. So I really believe that Satoshi lives up to the entire hype of what eudaimonia means. And I believe that due to all these things and how everyone comes together, Bitcoin is just extraordinary in every sense. And it's a whole bunch of ordinary things, right? It's ordinary people doing ordinary things for an extraordinary amount of time and with extraordinary perseverance. Yeah, and that makes Bitcoin not extraordinary at all.
That's cool. I like that. Would you say that Bitcoin is inevitable? Is Bitcoin the adoption and the game theory aspect makes it so good that it's kind of getting adopted anyways?
I mean, here is where it gets interesting, right? I believe for adoption to happen, I mean, some very hard Bitcoiners, and if I learned something in the past months, is that not all Bitcoiners are made the same. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are very proud about Bitcoin, but they are still like living in the fiat mindset. But for the ones who do, I believe that for the ones that are really sound incentives, I believe that we all understand that we also need to cooperate with companies. We need to cooperate with governments. So I believe when someone calls any Bitcoiner a true Bitcoiner an anarchist, I believe that's wrong. They're not anarchists. It's not like, yeah, we want no rules or nothing. No, like Bitcoin is the opposite of anarchist. It is an indestructible system, you know? So we want rules, we want system. What we want is just better rules, transparent rules, rules that you know, like that are fair to everyone and so on. So I believe that, yes, Bitcoin can really help us innovate a lot of things, but for that to happen, we have to be also a little bit more open and humble to understand that even through we might understand the problems that most people and like are dealing with, we still need to approach it more from the emotional side, right? Like, yeah, my father, when I was trying to explain him Bitcoin, is like, I taught you how to use the spoon. What are you gonna teach me, right? So yeah, in these moments you have to be humble and kind of say like, hey, look, it's just I'm trying to share what I learned so far, and I believe it's really interesting. So it's not absolute. I want to know what you think about it. You know, when you talk with someone in the government and you introduce Bitcoin, you have to teach them like, look, you think as Bitcoin as some way for people to do illicit activities, you know, like yes, illegal stuff, avoid taxes and so on, build the right incentives, and you can have a tax system that is faster where you can allow people to, you know, just like pay Bitcoin like almost instantly. That's going to make the cash flow better for the entire country, you know, but you want to plan for it. You want to go and you want to go and talk with Bitcoiners and see what they think, you know, what works and so on. So like both sides need to be willing to commit. So yeah, nothing is like black or white. There's like infinite shades of gray. And with that in mind, if we want more adoption, if we want more Bitcoin innovation, we need to be willing to compromise on some things. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe it's, you know, okay, agreeing to some regulations that don't change anything Bitcoin. It just changes how some ways of how we use Bitcoin change. But we are not supposed to be willing to change at all is our principles and values, you know, like the ones that made us every single day love Bitcoin. So yeah, when we can be humble enough to approach it that way, I believe we're ready for more innovation and adoption.
Really cool. I also one thing I remember now. You said, I think it's super beautiful. It's that the natural state is chaos, kind of like we always try to make structure and like bring like nice things to the world. You lived in Germany. there it's even more than probably like in El Salvador, where people always try to make very good structures and try to sort everything out. But the world is actually quite chaotic, and I think that's good. Like the natural state is chaotic, and ups and downs and volatility is actually something good. Like volatility is vitality. I like that a lot, of a saying of like, we want volatility, we want vitality, we want chaos, and not everything is going in a straight line and going good. Like you have good years, you have bad years, you have crashes, you have booms, and those things are good. And I think in a Bitcoin world we will have that truth more, and that's also something you talked about, which I think I think is really, really cool to see how you described it also.
Well, I mean, if you look at nature, nature creates a lot of chaos. You go to jungle, right? It's beautiful. You put your cables in your backpack, all of them, really nice. Like each of them, like a line and so on. On a space, you shake it, open it up again after a few minutes. They are all entangled, right? It's like this mad, disturbing things, and that's beautiful too. Every single day, we wake up into this world that we don't fully understand. We're far away from fully understanding it. I have no idea. If I say that we understand 0.01% of our world, I'm most likely wrong, because the more we learn, we will change it. No, it's 0.0001. I know it's 0.0000001%, right? I believe that's the beautiful thing. Now, a lot of people, when you apply this to volatility, they cannot deal with volatility. It's maybe just too wild. I like volatility because that's what keeps you humble. Right. So I don't know if at some point the volatility from Bitcoin is just decreasing and it loses that positive effect. But yeah. But if you think around again about life, volatility is what makes life good. There's no really cool, enjoyable moment without a really sad, depressing moment, so you have to go through the hard times so that you can enjoy the good times. So volatility is everywhere. And yeah, when I had to explain this, in a more structured way to people, because we're trying to find and create structures for this world that we don't fully understand all the time. We just assume a lot of things. I would go and explain people. It's like, hey, look, it's like a baby. It's a baby currency. As people are adopting it, all these higher number of people in this array of offers, people selling for more, selling for less, buying for more, buying for less, is going to make this volatility go away. I mean, it's just a way. But yeah, that's the thing, is that this is such a personal thing, understanding volatility goes beyond understanding finances and, basic trading economics and so on. It's more about understanding yourself and seeing seeing what's the way how you react to things changing that you cannot control. So, yeah. I don't know if I answered that question. I mean, yeah.
It's definitely interesting of the thing. I mean, I think here I didn't even ask a question, but yeah, it is definitely. Yeah. But it is something interesting with the natural state of Bitcoin. How do you actually see the role that Bitcoin is playing in the world right now? We see that it's getting more and more adopted by individuals, of course, but in recent years, it's more about institutions and actually also nation states adopting Bitcoin. How do you see Bitcoin's role currently in the world?
So I cannot talk about the world, I feel. I mean, don't be wrong. Every place is so different. I travel a bunch. Maybe thanks to that I work for an airline, as I said before, for some time, so I could travel very cheap. And I do some volunteering here and there, like in India, for a few months. So I cannot really talk for the world. I can talk for the countries where I live the most, which are Germany and El Salvador. So we'll focus on those. I don't want to say anything that's totally far from reality. So in Germany, if you ask me, for Bitcoin to play a major role in Germany, like at an institutional level, it's just a topic of being humble. That's the biggest hurdle. You have all these people sitting how do people that in German I heard one the Eierkopfzentrale because this building has Eierkopfzentrale means the in English, how is it Eierkopf, the central or the building of the people with egg heads. But this building has some sort of sphere cupola looking like an egg in the middle. But yeah, you have all these people just that take themselves very, very seriously. I met the past Ministry of Education before she became the Ministry of Education. She came to my office unannounced, just comes in, and she's just like, "Oh, this office looks really cool." She used the moment to make some really cool, innovating pictures, shaking the hand of a white-looking foreigner from a very poor country. Use it everywhere on her Facebook. Never talk again. So you have all these people who is like that are there with their very personal agendas, very egocentric, and they don't want to be told that there's a better way. Like they know the better way. Right? That's how they think. So I believe in Germany, Beacon can play a role of humbling again, down the people. If you see the biggest institutions from Germany that are going and help out there, I'm not gonna say names, but they go to other countries and say like, "Oh, you do wrong. This is the way." And they say, "Ah, you're doing this 999. Here, this is how you do it." It's like, and the reality is totally different. You cannot apply those things. You just break the entire incentive system. So yeah, I believe that's the role that it can play. As you see with the recent decisions, this is like someone who created a page, something like Germany not gonna make it or something. I forgot the name. Showing like what would be the price of the. It was 50,000 beacons. That is so. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know about Germany. I believe Germany has to go through a little bit harder times until it goes back up again. Maybe there's some chances there. Like, I don't feel it's going in the right direction now. Maybe in 5-7 years, there's a chance for correction. Maybe I rejoin Germany for some time. Maybe I reopen companies there again. But for now, I focus on El Salvador. And the role in El Salvador here is a little bit more exciting. First, it's more exciting because most people don't have access to banks. Maybe imagine why you're a very poor person. You have your son or daughter, right? Like they are born in your house. Maybe you didn't have the $10 or $30 to pay for the papers that you have a son or daughter. So they don't have a document, an ID. Therefore, their sons, their sons or daughters cannot have ID and so on. So they're kind of out of the system. And the bank is like, first thing is show me your ID. Okay, that's weird. Okay, show me your mother's ID. Okay, I want to have the social security number. What do you mean you don't have this? All of these things. So I believe that here, the biggest role that Bitcoin can serve people is that when you allow them to understand them, you also have the opportunity to give them very basic, but very, very basic financial education. Just a ratio of how much they should try to save or something, whatever, a tiny conversation. What are your higher costs? How can you reduce them so that it's more, like if you get $10, and you put $1 aside, keep it in Bitcoin. So I believe that if you just orange peel people, like orange peelers, and you just explain like, "Oh, look, this is Bitcoin and you can run seconds on this," like super light orange peel, you make them a disfavor. So you're not doing something good for them. You just increase the resistance next time that they try Bitcoin, because now they tried and they did it the wrong way. So explaining a little bit of let's say like in the future, what I would like to try to do here in El Salvador, and this you can apply to other developing countries and eventually the more developed ones. And this is like the bigger role. Thinking about game theory as a whole, I believe that it's possible to create a platform, and this platform is filled with two things. One is tasks that an institution, a government, or eventually a company wants someone else to do. It could be like, okay, join this event about picking trash, make a picture there, get a code from the leader, upload evidence here on the platform. You get $15, right? And the second thing is that all these institutions, whatever these activities can be, you can pay someone to learn, you can pay someone to participate, to contribute, to create content, to join an event, whatever, all these tasks, right? You also need to put some budget in it. So you put some US dollars. Now the problem is that okay, now you have a platform with us for the people, but and the money, but you don't have a way to approach and pay them. It gets crazy here because if you want to do to bank transactions, okay, boom, you already lost 70% of the people, right? And the people who need it the most and who are already like in all these places and can engage and contribute and participate and clean and reorder and build, you are just like dismissing, right? Also, just like every bank is going to charge something, you cannot send someone $5 because the transaction cost is too high. What if someone from Guatemala wants to participate? Okay, that's no longer $5, maybe it's 20. What if someone can add value from the other side of the world? Now the transaction is $150, and it's going to take more than a week, and maybe it's going to get frozen. So Bitcoin comes into play, or at least like something based on Bitcoin. Even if people want to get stable sats and so on, like Decentralized network, whatever, something like this. Yeah, this could be. Or if the platform requires anonymity for some reason, for example, you could do this for people to help them train in how to see illegal, illicit activities, how to report, for example, human trafficking or drug trafficking or something like this. And then, you can use like eCash so that you can make, these anonymous payments to these people so that you don't put them in danger. If you have like a database and someone hacks it, then, like the gangsters, and here we had problems with gangsters a lot of time. They have like a database on whom to kill, and now their problems are gone because there are no one else is going to whisper to the authorities, who's doing wrong. But now you have this platform, you have activities, you have budget, you have a way to distribute to everyone. You pay them in sats. So people come in and they can see all these activities. And because the world is moving in certain trends in certain direction, the world is moving into gig economy, so it's a little bit a symptom, I would say, like a symptom of the problems in global finance, right? A symptom of the monetary system. Because of that, people also need like a source B of income, just a tiny bit more, just to keep up with inflation. Because we have basically, as a generation, almost annihilated our dopamine, our incentive system inside, with all this TikTok and Instagram scrolling, just like destroying our incentive systems again, or destroying our brains. We need to focus again on shorter things, that pay faster. And and even more people, even if people are poor, they still save up and they buy, even with credit, a smartphone. So I feel that all these trends are pointing out that this is a system how you can re-engage like people, activate them, and put them on a path to give them proper education, including this financial education, including education about that makes them, like be able to like do their own agriculture or get a job or start their own company, right? And you are paying for that, and the budget is already there. It comes from the taxes. So then all the submissions that people do, documents, links, videos, posts, shares, whatever they do, articles, analysis, research, someone checks it, they give it, okay, yes, this has been properly done, or no, or they just give it like 5 stars, 1 stars, whatever. Once they do this, the rewards are instantly unlocked, and then boom, it's like, here are your sats. So if you see, I call this decentralized engagement. And if you see, what I'm trying to do is to create the right balance of incentives so that the governmental institutions wants to use this goal for their own goals, because every activity, every participation of every citizen makes them a more exemplary citizen and helps achieve the goals of the government, which helps achieve like a higher, like let's say, like, it's look as they are doing good things, therefore they get again like voted for, so they can stay in power. And then to the people, you give something that always has value to them. You're always giving them knowledge. You're always giving them something to do. You give them purpose, and you pay them with the hardest money in the world that we have. So I believe like that is the role that Bitcoin can have. It can allow mass participation of people in the country. So it's like maybe a better implementation of a participative democracy. And it here's very utopian, but I believe that in 15, maybe 20 years, there's no government that will not be trying to use this tool. And those are the things that my partner Ana Emilia and I are focusing on, thinking, okay, maybe we can build this, or if not, help create this type of systems, and if not, at least create the right incentives, in some other way. But when we talk about Bitcoin specifically, that's the role that it can have. It can just help, awake everyone and reactivate them, and help them participate and make change instead of sitting on the couch, watching some nonsense, consuming some high fructose juice with some heavy metal, into sandwich or whatever. And just stand up and then now let's do something of value. Okay, you don't like this, you can change it, and you're gonna get paid for it. That's the bigger role.
Almost a democratic revolution, which Bitcoin could be, especially also because then right now we don't have a say in what the money supply is, and if everyone uses Bitcoin, everyone has a say actually in the monetary system, or can have a say with Bitcoin. It's a really interesting perspective here.
Maybe this is, so I'm focusing on topics. I have an innovation agency and I focus on topics around education, workshops to solve problems, so this kind of like trainings and so on. And the whole other part, the other part that is kind of like the tool that will empower us to do this and just take it to the next level and scale it up is thinking in this massive participation, why is Bitcoin so extraordinary? Again, it's because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of us aligned by incentives, participating and contributing to the system. So I am just realizing right now that in a way, this system is inspired by Bitcoin. I never thought about it. I was saying that Bitcoin is kind of like part of the puzzle, but it's not only part of the puzzle, it's maybe the source. Crazy. I just noticed this right now with what you said.
There you go. The next book is coming.
Oh my God. First build, first understand, we're still in that phase. Yeah. Then we will optimize, then we'll automate, then we will scale, then write the book.
Really cool.
But who knows? Future is so uncertain, and that's daunting, but at the same time exciting. Not exciting. It can be exhausting too, but more exciting than anything else. So let's see.
Really cool. There's one question to ask each and every one of my guests, and the question is, what can we learn from you besides Bitcoin?
Besides Bitcoin, well, I'm just a humble servant, and I am doing a lot of mistakes, and I try to share them. So this is the most important thing that I can at least attempt or try to teach anyone else is, and it's because I have been humble in life so many times. I lost everything in my life 3 times, including last year, building something similar to what I was describing before, just with the absolute total wrong incentive. I met the wrong person. And then I met another person who was a really cool person, and together we started a company, and I said, I can design this, like what I was describing before, right? Everything what I want is to have a Bitcoin-only version of it, and have it as a separate entity. But these people want to go crypto. I went there, I designed the thing, helped it grow, because it was based on crypto stuff. With the wrong incentives, whatever you build is going to crash. Building like a sandcastle next to the beach, and it's very close to the water, and you build it when the tide is low. So you know that eventually the tide is gonna go high, and it's going to erase your sandcastle and any evidence of existence for it. So that's what weak incentives does. So if I will take something from all these humbling moments, is that you should really take your time. Don't try to rush. Gather some skills, and put some time into them, put 40 hours, 100 hours, 200 hours, 500 hours into perfecting them, thousands of hours if you can, then really ask yourself what are the problems that really bother you the most. Say no to everything else, because saying yes is easy, it's automatic, but saying no, this is a phrase from Adam. Adam was the editor of the book, and my favorite phrase in the book is that he says like no is intentional. You know, no, saying no to everything allows you to say yes to the things that matter. So once you focus down on that thing that these problems, these things that bother you, and you can say yes to them because you're saying no to everything else. Just like very slowly move and stick to it. So I lost all my savings. I went into that. I just have recovered back from now. I'm starting like basically from zero in terms of like what I'm saving. Like my Bitcoin is the only thing that I have because now it fell in a boat, a boating accident, right? But yeah, it's just trying to describe all of this. It means like don't rush. You know, if you really, and this is something that it's still something that I'm learning, and I'm repeating it so that I'm sure that I really learn it fully. It's difficult. It's not. Even if you hear it 10,000 times, it doesn't mean that you learn it. But I'm starting to understand that whatever I can do is more worth than like Bitcoin, and that if I do it really good enough, if I do it trying to absolutely excel every day, trying to be very, very constant, you know, go positive, go first, do it constant, doing it every day, just trying to improve, you know, whatever amount of Bitcoin I have, I will have more Bitcoin later. But if I or all of us try to rush into getting more Bitcoin, that will help us do the opposite of what we try to learn. That will help us, that will raise our ego. That will help us make more mistakes, you know. We will start looking for quantity instead of quality. We will get into noise instead of finding calmness and the signal. And when we're trying to rush and be too fast instead of going slow is when we make the mistakes. And those mistakes are humbling again, and they can realign us back into the sounder path. But yeah, I know that I'm saying it, and I'm saying like you're still gonna do your thing, right? I mean, this is not that you will not make the mistake; you will still do it. But my hope is that by saying this, when you do it, it will give you structure to what happened or what can happen next. You know, this will be your next moment of truth. So goodbye. Sorry, I have here some friends. Yeah, so that is what I can teach others, and that's why I wrote the book. Everything else, you know, like if someone has a company and is dealing with anything of the problems that I was talking about, just please get in contact with me, and then we can see if there's a match. You know, I really take my time now to see whether there's a match. If we're not a good match, I suggest someone else who can also do a pretty good job that may be better aligned. But yeah, so in our lives, like we decide like where our boat is going if we want to, and who's coming with us and who's going to do what in the boat. So I learned that if you choose the wrong incentives or sometimes or the wrong partners with the wrong incentives, it's going to drag you down heavily. So I had these 3 times in life, and I don't want to deal with this again. And maybe I will, I hope, but definitely not in the magnitude and not in the way, you know, that it happened before. So I know that you didn't ask me, but in a way, this is what finalized my orange pilling conversion. You know, this is what was like a cleanse. You know, this is what got me from focusing on nonsense into saying, okay, Beacon only. Yeah.
That's an important thing of like finding that signal in so much noise that we have. And we have an entertain in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is. I'm really interested in what you have to say to that one. What is your most controversial opinion that you have on Bitcoin, which you think most of the Bitcoin community would disagree with?
That's an incredible question. The most controversial thing. So I thought that for a lot of Bitcoiners, I said already 2. I will repeat them and see if there's something even stronger than that. One is that we need to be even more humble and more willing to, you know, like to find what's like the compromise. That's one. The second one is that not all Bitcoiners are made the same. That's another one. Well, And third is, yeah, I mean, here I'm going to split people into, you know, beginners will agree with me, and whoever else doesn't agree with me, you're not a beginner. I always say that. But it's that we're not always right. And beginner is not perfect. There is a good five things that are dangerous to Bitcoin that we should be aware of. And when we're aware, we can work on them. I spent some time, I had the luxury of sitting 4 hours straight in a group of 15 people in a castle in Germany, in the basement of the castle, you know, with a core Bitcoin developer, and then with other like people that are really adding a lot of value to Bitcoin, just to talk about what's wrong with Bitcoin or what needs to change. So yeah, Bitcoin is not perfect, and particularly with all of this in mind, I believe one of the presentations, there's something that is controversial that really hit me, and is that Bitcoin at first, and this is like when you are on your way to becoming a Bitcoiner, is going to raise your ego. No, that's wrong. No, it doesn't work. You don't know. Look at this. This is right. You know, like Bitcoin fixes this, Bitcoin fixes that. Um, and at some moment, you know, you have to like just again like calm down, stop, just like listen to yourself. I noticed that you have been arrogant all this time. I noticed that for some people, Bitcoin is still not on the spectrum of something that they can do, you know, and just like go away from that. Try to help them listen to the problems so that you can come back to this. So yeah, so yeah, we're not always right. Please, you know, like I wanted to say the F word, F in, act like that, you know, do something and look to your side and try to listen, look to your left, look to the right, you know, try to listen like deeply. What's the message that the other ones are conveying? Then notice how these people are acting. And if you can and see like how they spend their money, what they do with it, yeah, and that's gonna tell you the truth. And again, it comes to the other two things that I said, but I believe that this one was the main one, that not all beginners are the same. So that's the most controversial thing. And you know, the best part of it is that if half of the beginners don't agree with this, I'm okay with that. That's good. So they know where on which side I am. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. It's good to be, it's almost good to be controversial these days. But yeah, thank you so much, Nelson. Before I let you go, really quickly, where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you?
Sorry, I didn't hear this one.
Where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you? Like where are your socials?
Sure. So I'm called Nelson Inno like innovation. It's like a nickname, my business name. My name is very long. I have like 4 names. You know, like here in Latin America, you can find it if you want. Yeah. So if you look for Nelson Inno, no dots, no anything, you will find me virtually anywhere. Particularly, I would love if you can find me on Nostr, because I like to spend more time there. So I did it on my Twitter already, to be honest. So if you tell me like when you publish this like Nelson, here it is, I will maybe log into Twitter. I'll do that once or twice a month. I will just go post, comment, you know, like repost, reshare, retweet, or whatever how it's called, comment, like whatever, you know, like send to some friends, and then I'm gonna log off and I'm not gonna be there again. So yeah, I'm virtually anywhere, but at least like the presence looks, it's an illusion that I'm there. But in truth, I am absent everywhere so that I can be present somewhere, and Nostr is the place. Now, the thing is that I have only around 100 people that we are following each other. So yeah, that's the thing is like I'll go there, and when I post something, maybe 5 or 10 people are going to see it. And that's still fine, but it would be nice, you know, if at least I can talk with more of you. So if you're someone who likes whatever I was talking about, just follow me there and send me a message. Hey, I follow you. Follow me back. I will follow you back. You know, I want to connect. I have also something that I want to show you. I will follow you back instantly. So that's one. And the second part, and this is where I need help, and it's very easy, is on Geyser Fund. So I want that more beginners have this resource. I'm not asking you to go and donate something there. That's not what I need. If you do, great. I will do big things with this. I will convert the book into audiobook. I will translate to other languages. I will print copies so that I can give to people that cannot afford, and that, like a physical copy can do a thing. But if not, just go on Geyser Fund and follow us. That's enough. I will try to not send emails too often, maybe once every 2 months or 3 months, only when there's something big. Or send one chat and say hi. Like, it's nothing. Just, help us with the algorithm so that at least we show up somewhere in the search, maybe in the hot page one day. That would be great. And help us spread the book. And if that's too much, go still in Geyser Fund, look for Unstable Innovation. You'll find the book very easily, or on Google, whatever browser you use. You can go to the website and you can download it for free and read it. So I'm not taking, I'm giving. Just give it a chance. And if you like it, you can just take it. You can pirate it. The book has a Creative Commons license, by the way. And yeah, just make it yours. It's yours, and give it to whoever you want. Again, re-upload it, pirate it. I don't care. I am happier if you read it, because I've taken a lot of time. It took a lot of mistakes and difficult moments in life to put all of this together. And I believe that if I share this, we both align. And when we all align, we have better chances, align in values and principles. We have better chance of create better things in the world. So that's it. Geyser Fund, you look for Unstable Nation. Nostr, you look for Nelson Inno. And if that's too big of an ask, go to the website and you can download the book for free. Press on buy, look for the PDF, EPUB version. It's in English and Spanish now. Like, the Spanish version was a donation of a big NGO. And yeah, everything I ask is for an email. Get a temporary email, a 24-hour email. That's okay for me. Just if you want to read it, just get it. You don't have to pay for it. That's the intention. So help me spread the message, and I will help you back.
I love
allowing me also to share this part, Robin.
I love the Creative Commons license. I put also my podcast on there, and people ask me, can I use that clip? Can I use that clip? And I'm like, yeah, of course. First of all, I cannot control anything. If the things go out and spread anyways, so I don't want to control it, and I cannot control it. And I actually want to spread the word around Bitcoin. So if someone takes something from my podcast and shares it somewhere else, that's the whole purpose of my podcast, that it gets shared, that the message of Bitcoin gets bigger. So I do agree with that a lot. Thank you so much, Nelson, for. Oh, sorry, you want to add something?
I want to say, yeah, and even if your message doesn't come with your name, it doesn't matter. You did it. You share it. You change someone's mind, made them to act. You make them, adopt whatever you wanted to share and go and spread it by themselves. So you reach your goals. You make the world a better place. And that's the beautiful thing, with full ego that you don't, yeah, you still get there. So that's beautiful. And I mean, and it's awesome. And I believe it's aligned with what we do. Anyone who's not thinking like this, maybe another controversial take, is we cannot be praising an open innovation system. We cannot be moving open source everything stuff, and then we create stuff and we don't share it with everyone else. Come on, it's it's like with philosophy. People, it's they go and recite, Epictetus says this, that, and they said the exact words perfectly. They can recite them in Latin, in Greek, whatever, whoever said what, and then you see how they live, and they don't live the philosophy. So that I like, because what we're trying is to live with, but what we say is not only what we say, it's also what we do. So we live with this philosophy, and yeah. And if we're praising Bitcoin, maybe that's an easy way to see who's who. So yeah, it's really cool to hear it, Robin. Really, really cool.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nelson. That was really cool. Also, thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.